science fiction literature is about contemplating where do we go from here? Who are we? What are we here for? And how can we expand the mission? And I think, you know, Gene had a very difficult time assembling the cast that he did in the original series. Mm-hmm. The network didn't want him to have a black woman and a Russian and an Asian and an alien, you know, on the crew. But Gene fought for it. He really wanted to push this idea that unless we get over these issues of what separates us, we're never going to get our act together. And I agree wholeheartedly. You just got to keep pushing the envelope.
The aspect of certain things being a non-issue in the future, for instance, gay people in the future. You played a blind man, which in our society, present-day society, is regarded as a handicap. But I think that Gene's purpose in casting a blind character in Next Generation was that blindness is not a handicap. But with the visor, your character wasn't really blind.
No.
So I'm curious to know, did you try to play Geordi as a blind man, or was that after a time not even a consideration with how you portrayed the character?
You know, the thing about Geordi that I really loved was that he was more enthusiastic about his life than almost anybody on board ship. And I never played Geordi as a blind man. In fact, you know, Geordi could see so much more than, you know, everybody else around him. Now, LeVar, when he put the visor on, couldn't see squat. In the first season, I bumped into everything. Furniture, light stands, fellow cast members. But, you know, it was always funny to me when people would come up to me and say, well, when is Geordi going to get, you know, human vision? When is he going to get human vision? Whenever we dealt with it on the show, my point of view was, why would he take a step backward? I mean, here's a man who sees all of the electromagnetic spectrum. He sees everything from X-ray to infrared. This man sees sound. So why would he want to have the vision of a human being?
And in the recent movies, your character lost the visor and apparently had, I'm guessing, implants of some sort. We went with the character of Data over his journey through the series and then through the movies to acquire human emotion. And that was a story arc that continued from the series into the movies. Geordi went from a visor to, I guess, what would you call, you know, artificial eyes. There you go. With almost barely a passing of a mention in the script. Any background on that, or is it was just director's decision, or what?
Well, no. I mean, I had many conversations with Rick Berman about the purpose of the visor, and he always would insist that the visor was one of the ways that we communicated to the audience the level of technological sophistication of the 24th century. However, when I wore the visor, we literally screwed it into my head, and it hurt. It hurt. So I made a deal with him that when we went into the movies that we would get rid of the visor and go to a contact lens, because I was tired of the headaches.
That's a pretty good reason. Which director did you most enjoy working with in the movies?
In the movies?
Yes.
Oh, Jonathan.
Yeah, without question. Hands down.
Hands down.
Hands
Best
down.
director, you know, present company, you know. They were, actually no, they were. Jonathan and LeVar, I felt were the two best directors we had on the show. Your first show was
Second Chances.
Second Chances, which was a big show for me.
Big show for you and Jonathan.
And I thought it was a great show. A lot of technical stuff you had to do. So, and maybe it was because we knew him and we loved him, and you know, and we would walk on glass for both of them. But you know, they knew us and they had the right attitude, and they knew the work, and they knew the hours were long, and they understood. I mean, you got some real lopses coming in sometimes. You know, we had one director. Was it the first season who? I think he directed 1 or 2 shows and then he refused to ever come back because we were too rowdy.
Yes.
It's like good riddance, you know. If you can't have fun when you're working, then those days are damn long.
Yeah, they are.
Can I throw a question out to the audience? Raise your hand. Right here on the floor.
Okay, yeah, I always wore a hairpiece. Actually, on the TV series, I wore what is called a fawn. So that was my hair in the front, and then there was this big long thing in the back. Did you notice one season my hair was actually bigger than I was? Did you notice? In the movies, I kind of felt like I'd done the country and western thing for 7 years, and either give me a guitar and let me sing, or let's forget about Loretta Lynn. And so in the movies, I wore a wig, a full wig. One of the reasons I like to wear a wig is because I had to be at work at 5:15, 5:30 in the morning. And when you wear a wig, the hairdressers can do your hair when you're not in it. So you get that extra half an hour in bed. But you know, it wasn't heavy. They're beautiful wigs. In fact, there's an interesting story. When I went to do, there were such good wigs. When I went in to do Enterprise, I went in for my costume fitting, and I went over to makeup. And I said, you know, we need to get the wig over to Renata, because the wig maker, because the bangs were a little short in the last movie and I want them a little longer. And they're like, wig? What wig? The wigs had vanished. I know one of y'all has got them. eBay, they're somewhere on eBay, right? So actually on Enterprise I wore this cheapo $100 piece of crap.
You look great there.
Well, thank you, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, but the wigs were very, very expensive and very good, and you could hardly feel them on your head. Yeah.
You had a scene in Star Trek First Contact.
I know where this is going.
Where's this going?
Where I was drunk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of character. What happened there?
Well, I actually, I had the same feeling, because I had tried to make Troy funny for 7 years or whatever, 9 years, and it never worked. And I would try, and Jonathan would say, don't try and be funny, it doesn't work. So when I read the script, I actually spoke to Rick Berman about it, and I said, you know, I mean, I'm not complaining, because I love doing that scene. But where did that scene come from? And he said, well, there's a line in that scene that is, I've been trying to keep his hands off me for 20 minutes. For the last 20 minutes, I've been trying to keep his hands off me. He said, if one of the boys had said it, it'd be a whole different movie.
LeVar, if you had to make a choice, if you had to make the choice between acting and directing, which way would you go?
Directing, hands down.
Really?
Yeah,
tell us why.
I just feel so much more alive when I'm directing. It just uses more of me, you know? I feel like the 20 or so years I spent as an actor was really about getting me into a place where I could learn, observe, and listen, and then take that into the next part of my career, the next part of my life. You know, actors, they tend, and I don't mean this as a slight, right? Yeah. An actor will look at a script and they'll go, bullshit, bullshit, my line, bullshit, bullshit, my line.
Who's blushing now?
But as a director, you really have to be concerned with the entire thing. And I like that challenge of having my brain work in several directions at the same time.
I mean, I have to say, he's got to be including himself in that as an actor, right?
Absolutely.
Because remember that episode, now this one I can't remember the title of,